Hello, you're listening to the Popcorn Conspiracy on CentralCoastRadio.com. I'm Kyle and I'm joined by Harley right now, and we watched quite an odd little movie called Abruptio. It's a new surrealist horror film from writer-director Evan Marlowe. It follows a mid-30s slacker named Les Hackle, voiced by James Masters. Les is more or less a loser, down on his luck, working a dreary dead-end job while living at home with his parents. His nearly 2-year relationship has just ended, with his girlfriend breaking things off with him due to his failures as a person. And he continues to just drift through life until one day, out of nowhere, his friend Danny, voiced by Jordan Peele, informs him that they both have had explosive devices implanted in their necks. And they don't know who did it or exactly why, but via text messages, they do know that they're being forced to carry out heinous acts of violence on other people, or else the bomb will be detonated. So this begins Les's journey to try to stay alive while also trying to discover who is behind this. He meets several equally disturbed individuals who have also had bombs planted in their necks, all the while the very world itself seems to be falling apart from terrorist actions and political assassinations and general growing mayhem. So Abruptio is a very interesting movie, and the entire thing is performed by these disturbing dead-eyed puppets using various styles of puppetry animation.
Yeah,
They're
there were
both
there were
life,
moments of like 2D animation in there. Whenever they watch
yeah,
TV, it's all
yeah.
animated. I'm like, that's strange.
Yeah, it's like there's some it's just various different ways of animation, all different styles that go together in this one movie. It is live action, but it's live action in the same way that Team America is live action, you know? And like the masks that the characters are wearing, like uh, they're both lifelike. We were just discussing this. They're both lifelike, but also completely inhuman at the same time. Like you said, the actual skin tone actually it does look realistic.
Yeah,
There's age
the
and
faces
wrinkles and
are kind of amazing in that sense because you
yeah,
you you get the marks and
yeah,
all the
like
holes and wrinkles of
crow's
the skin.
feet and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's quite amazing. But then, and especially because we follow, Lester Hackle the whole time,
mm,
his puppet is just this kind of dead stare. Like I don't give a crap about, what's going on in life. I'm not really looking at anything. So it
yeah.
kind of fits his character, but at the same time, it's like every time there's a close up, I'm like, damn.
Well, it's funny. It's like if they were wearing sunglasses, you'd almost be able to confuse it with a real person, but just
Yeah.
the dead eyes behind it, which I'm sure that's intentional, that the to to give the movie this kind of off-putting nature about it. Production on it actually started nearly something like 10 years ago. Like
Just about, yeah.
they recorded voices for it back in 2015, and it is only being really released around the film festival circuit and stuff now. It features a large cast of talent, including James Masters, who people might know from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, playing Spike, and Jordan Peele, but also Christopher McDonald, Freddy Krueger himself,
Yeah,
Robert
Robert
England,
Englund, yeah.
yeah, and the late Sid Haig of the Devil's Rejects fame, who passed away some years ago, which
Yeah,
just goes to show,
2019. So it's
yeah,
it's kind of a legacy for him, a
yeah,
strange
just
legacy to have.
yeah, goes to show like just how long this thing's kind of been in production. No, but what did you think of it, Harley?
I've been asking myself that ever since I watched it. I It was strange because I'm told, hey, there's this horror movie about puppets doing the festivals, so we're going to review it. And I'm watching it. Just the first thing that got me was that that dead eye stare of Lester Hackle, and that just has stayed with me ever since. Um, but I have to say, like, despite look, there are very definite sort of gore elements
Mm,
throughout this whole thing, but to me, it doesn't strike me as a horror film. There's
mm,
there's a little bit more to it, but it's almost like it goes crazy off the rails throughout the narrative as it builds towards the end to make me think, wow, was it meant to be like this from the beginning? But because it ends up there's a psychological aspect as well, and so
mm,
there's
mm,
more layers to it. But sometimes it's a little bit hard to see through those layers just because of what you're watching and how it's being done.
mm.
So yeah, it's a weird experience to watch this film. Yeah, there is. I don't even want to say too much to give things away, but
Too much
when
away,
it
yeah.
goes a bit more out of this world, it's like a leap that's gone. What? What movie
And
am I watching? I'm
it's weird just how bizarre it gets, but then there'll be another scene that's just like him talking to a doctor in an office. It's like, wait, what's going on? It's a
and
movie.
funnily, there's that those doctor scenes, like the first one,
Yeah.
is actually quite clever because it kind of has this foreboding as the doctor sort of leans back and scratches the back of his neck kind of thing.
Mm,
And then that is the first tiny little subtext hint of what's about to go down in this
yeah.
movie. Um, I do think there is something in the writing to be praised, I guess, but despite the weirdness of it all,
Mm,
that there is a real kind of subplot to the whole thing, which you know, it can go so far off the rails because it's really leading to something else. And
mm, mm.
but uh, yeah, I'm not sure how I want to say because
Yeah.
again, I don't want to give
Yeah, you don't want to
any
spoil
elements
it.
away because
There's another movie that I could actually say, hey, this is very much kind of like that, but even doing that will pretty much just spoil
yeah,
the ending of the movie, so I can't. But yeah, yeah, it's an interesting. It's a kind of like a cross between Saw and this Charlie Kaufman movie called Anomalisa. Which again was a puppetry kind of film, like a regular story, but told with puppets. And yeah, it's very much kind of like David Lynch in as far as like you
yeah,
say,
very
it's not really
much.
horror. It's
It's
surrealist
it's surreal and
horror.
disturbing, and
Yeah.
it's actually the elements that you would call horror
Mm.
are kind of I didn't find them that disturbing. I don't know if it's because they're puppets or because the puppets themselves are more creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like almost just the when you see them going about doing normal things, it's just as disturbing watching them do that as when you're watching them cut up bodies and when there's an abundance of CGI blood and guts. I really did like the puppets though with how they use. Like as I say, it's a mix between different styles. Like sometimes it's obviously like puppetry. I don't know how they're animated exactly, but other times they're obviously like masks on top of real people.
Yeah,
Um, and there's also like a little bit of CGI, I think, to make well, of course, there's a lot of CGI in it, but I think there's a little touches of CGI to the way that the puppets move to just make them that little bit more uncanny valley deal where like I think that the CGI has been used to make the lip flaps move so that when it's not just like a clumsy puppet flapping its mouth, it for like P's and M's, the lips actually touch together. And also I think when they're like blinking, I think is like a bit of
yeah,
CGI used there. Like it really like it all adds to, as you say, it's just there's like work, really a lot of work's gone into these puppets, but they're still so disturbing to look at. Yeah.
It's it's
Um,
interesting because I think generally you have a character like this Lester Hackle and you kind of don't feel much for them per
hmm,
se. They're just kind of like drifting their way through life and nothing in their life is great in any way.
hmm,
It's just kind of like they've given up sort of thing. And but it's that kind of dreamy, dead-eyed stare that just that makes it a bit weird and it makes it that little bit harder to look away, even though you kind of want to. But it ends
yeah,
up working well for his character and how he's written because, you know, the story is putting him in this position of he's really just a victim of circumstances kind of thing. Like he's got a bomb planted in the back of his neck, and now he's being told to do all these horrendous things.
yeah,
Otherwise, the bomb will, go off and he'll be dead. So it it's almost not strongly proactive in him wanting to find out who's doing this. There's a hint of it, but as we've seen, this guy just has
goes
drifted
along,
through
goes
his
with the
life.
flow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's like
it
even
slowly
while
kind of picks up that when he thinks he's getting chances to find out something, he will take the action needed to, take the risk and
yeah,
find out what's going on, sort of thing, because he starts to find things to care about and he wants answers about stuff. But
yeah,
it's kind of a slow build. It's almost happenstance that he gets into that position. Like, I don't, if things had been different without any kind of impetus, he would have just kept going, doing things until he got killed himself.
yeah. It's like he just kind of it goes with the flow of killing people in the same way that he went with the flow of just doing his 9 to 5 job every day.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it's like
And there's really like no switch between that. It's just sort of like
no,
um he didn't sort of struggle from the first moment he saw his uh friend die and then he realized he has to do this or he'll die too. He
hmm,
he has not questioned it and he's just done the things he's told to do.
yeah,
So yeah, you kind of constantly question like, do I feel for this character or not? Like he hasn't questioned a damn thing and
that's oh, do I
yeah.
need to kill these people?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Okay. It's like, oh, okay. And yeah, it's not like it's just it's not like bad writing or anything. It's just that that kind of adds to, I guess, how unsettling and disturbing the film kind of is. Like, and I think that it really does achieve what it's setting out to do there. Yeah, it's the kind of movie like I'm interested in watching it again, like knowing how it ends and just to, as you say, to see if there's a lot of other foreshadowing throughout it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there are little bits and pieces, and I kind of figured stuff out as it,
hmm,
progressed, and then it sort of, yeah, dived fully into that narrative. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably worth a second watch once you get over the weird puppets and kind of creepy feel of it. You probably want to go back and see, like, okay, let me just, now that I'm over that initial reaction, let
Yeah,
me look at that again.
yeah.
But yeah, strange one.
I think it's kind of maybe got the potential in it to be something of a cult following behind it.
I
I
think it
kind
would,
of
yeah.
yeah, it reminded me a little bit of movies like Lake Michigan Monster or Greasy Strangler. There's like just two. There's the movies that like when you're watching them, it's just what the hell am I watching? But you can't turn away. You can't look
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
Yeah. And then like yeah, you want them, you want to get them on Blu-ray or whatever so you can watch them again. Like, yeah, I think I'll give that weird Greasy Strangler movie another watch. So I guess that gets down to what are you going to give this out of 5?
Yeah, interesting. I think, as we're talking about it, it's like I do feel like there's a bit more about it I respect than I actually thought I did. So it's interesting because they have gone to years of work to kind of
Yeah.
figure out these puppets and everything. So I think if they do it again, it's probably going to get better and better. This is like what the new version of, the Muppets is going to be like in the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it. I'll actually give it four.
Hmm. I'm actually going to give it a four as well. Yeah, the same. I feel the same. It's just, it's a kind of movie that like it's just so weird and bizarre, but you can't help but think about it. Like yeah, it is kind of an interesting movie that Marlowe has put together here, and it's kind of, as you say, it really was a labor of love for them to be just put years and years of work into this film. So
And the
yeah,
voice talent is actually good. And
yeah,
and it's not just because of they've got a few good names in there. It's
yeah,
they're actually good at doing voice work. They've got
yeah,
these sometimes larger than life characters being put to life, and some of them are deliberately kind of cliche archetypes or
yeah,
whatever. But there's enough in there that it builds the life into them, even if, sometimes they're a little bit stunted as puppets, but there's a lot of personality coming out of them.
yeah. And why can't you hear a pterodactyl pissing? Because the P is
You're
silent.
silent, yeah. That was
Uh,
one of my favorite moments.
yeah, I love that too. Like that's what I paused the movie and texted that to some
Yeah.
people afterwards.
And yeah, look, I don't know about you, but I had a few like really laugh out loud moments, and not just because
Oh
of
yeah,
things like that. It was just like the weirdness of the puppets, or when it was long shots, there were people in masks and gloves to look like the
yeah,
puppets. That it was like, what am I watching? Like, even if it was like a graphic gore moment, it was just like I couldn't help but laugh. It was just so weird.
yeah. Well, so yeah, 4 out of 5 for us. Definitely not what we thought that we'd be giving this movie at the
Yeah.
start, but yeah, I think both giving it a four out of five. It's a
It's
little tricky.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's currently
yeah.
doing the
The
festivals,
festivals.
so
Yeah,
I don't think anyone will get to see it until at least August, depending on where they are in the world. But
yeah. Depending on
I say
who
keep an
picks it
eye out
up.
for it though.
Definitely, definitely. Abruptio. That's it. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. You're listening to the Popcorn Conspiracy on CentralCoastRadio.com, and we'll be right back after this.
Snap. Whoops, I can't find the button.